It had been a few years since the tournament and the world had settled into an odd peace. Bulma was surprised that Piccolo didn't make an effort to attack Goku since then. She had some of her drones watch him as best they could from a distance whenever she knew where he was, but only caught glimpses before they were shot down. Goku had told her not to worry as he and the rest of the Z fighters still kept an eye on him, and Goku was not one to slack on his training, forever getting new equipment from Bulma. Chi-Chi had been very persistent after the fight with Goku. The two had almost come to blows many times if Goku hadn't stepped in, but with both of them being stubborn, Bulma not willing to let her longest best friend be trapped in a loveless marriage, and Chi-Chi unwilling to budge from a mistaken childhood promise that Goku was not willing to let go, something about "I won't break a promise, even if I didn't know what it was." Reluctantly they had both agreed that Rashi's plan made some sense because neither was going to let the other get in the way. It had been rough at first till Gohan and Trunks were born. Goku had always seemed to focus on his training till those two arrived. Bulma had wanted to cut their tails off immediately, much to the shock of Goku and Chi-Chi, but after pulling the other women aside and explaining why, the two presented a united front that Goku couldn't say no to. Chi-Chi had wanted Goku to work, but after Bulma had told her there was no need since she was the wealthiest person on the planet, Goku had been thrilled because he could train as much as he wanted. Chi-Chi had been mad about it but was quickly placated by Trunks and Gohan. Doting on them seemed to become her new favorite thing, much to Goku's sadness because he wanted to train with someone at least, and Krillin could only do so much. Right now though they were on their way to Kame House for a little get-together, Bulma had made sure that Goku stayed in touch with the rest of the group even if Chi-Chi sometimes seemed like she didn't want anything to do with them. Bulma suspected she wanted Goku all to herself, but these were her and Goku's friends since they were kids, and she wasn't going to let him just disappear from their lives because she said so. They did drop by Capsule Corp occasionally to train with Goku and see how they were doing, but it was never all of them. The house started coming into sight over the horizon. "Okay, we're almost there," Bulma said over her shit to Chi-Chi and launch. She turned outside of her capsule hoverplane to wave at Goku, who was carrying Trunks and Gohan in his arms riding the Nimbus. The trio waves back enthusiastically, causing her to let out a laugh. A few minutes later they were hovering over Kame House and could see Krillin and Turtle waving at them from the ground. Nimbus circled the house a couple of times before it came to a stop off the shore. Goku hopped off with Trunks and Gohan in each arm. Gohan was hiding from the others, but Trunks was most happy at seeing so many faces at once. "Uncle Krillin!" Trunks shouted, already trying to scramble out of his dad's grip, and Goku put him down, but instead of running off he was jumping around expectantly, reaching out for Gohan. With how shy Gohan was you would think Trunks was older, but they were the exact same age, even though Trunks didn't like to think that Gohan was born earlier. Gohan looked at Goku, who just gave him a nod as he set him down on the ground. He was about to hide behind Goku, but Trunks grabbed his hand and rushed off towards the others. A lot of the fighters were outside. Krillin, Yamcha, Jin and the others were probably outside. Trunks and Gohan were surprised. They had seen them all individually when they visited, but never all of them at once. "Hey Gohan," Turtle said, grabbing the boy's attention and causing him to smile as he rushed over, jumping on his back. Trunks rushed over to the others as Bulma touched down. The festivities began almost immediately, with Rashi running out of the building trying to hug Bulma, and Chi-Chi would subsequently beat him to the ground. Chi-Chi hadn't wanted to come, but after Bulma had said she was going to take Goku there regardless of what she said, she had been forced to come for now. "I'm surprised no one had killed you yet, old man," Bulma said with a huff as she and Chi-Chi walked over to Rashi towards the house, but he let out some perverted giggles, causing yet another beat down again. It was a while later, as everyone was standing outside talking and waiting on the barbecue, that all the fighters suddenly froze. before quickly looking up at the sky. Bulma and Chi-Chi's eyes met as they gave a shrug, not knowing what was going on. "Did you guys feel that?" Goku asked the rest of the group, and they all nodded. "Yeah, big power level just arrived out of nowhere." Alarm bells were ringing in Bulma's ears as she knew that whatever or whoever it was had everyone on edge. They waited a while, observing the power level closely. "It's heading for Piccolo," Master Roshi said, surprising the few that couldn't sense the power. "Whoever this is must be pretty powerful to attack him like that." Within moments of arriving at Piccolo's location, the power of the being spiked suddenly before Piccolo's took a dive. But one that wasn't fatal. Not that it mattered at the moment, as the big issue was that it had taken him out with so much ease, someone who was close to Goku in strength in the past. The power level rose again as it seemed to charge before heading off in their direction. All the Z fighters who could sense the power felt their blood turn cold as the being seemed to only accelerate in their direction. Goku knew there wasn't much he could do now. If he told Bulma and Chi-Chi to run, whoever it was could go after them and he wouldn't be able to protect them as easily, and even going inside Kame House would prove useless, so he waited. It didn't take long for the aura to appear over the horizon, but Goku watched it more with surprise than fear. Someone way stronger than Piccolo. He could only guess the fight would be good. The person came to rest above Kame House, and they could see a man who had long unruly hair and some kind of armor. He stood floating above the island, looking around the group as he slowly descended. As he touched down, he looked at the group with distaste. A bunch of humans and other odd creatures. His scouter hovered over each of them, looking at their power level, each solo they weren't worth his attention. Then his eyes finally landed on who he seemed to be looking for. "If it isn't Kakarot," he said with a bellow, and the other Z fighters and Goku could only look on confused. "Why haven't you completed your mission? I had to deal with some vermin on my way here. You should have had this planet cleaned up." Raditz could see Bulma and Chi-Chi standing just behind Goku's large frame, glancing a view at him. "So you have taken human mates. Shameful that you have dirtied our blood. But given the current situation, it can be overlooked." Raditz stood proudly before a voice interrupted his reverie. The voice said, and he opened his eye and could see Kakarot scratching his head. "What is it, Kakarot? We don't have time to be messing about." Goku looked at him before asking the question, "Who is Kakarot?" Raditz was baffled. "You fool, don't play games. Didn't you learn from your datapad?" But Goku just looked at him confusedly. "You pod?" But no answer. "And why aren't you wearing your armor? A Saiyan must never be without their armor." "Hey man, I don't know who this Kakarot guy is. What are you doing here?" Goku asked a little more seriously, but still kept his goofy tone. Krillin had walked up to the mysterious man and was assessing him closely. "My name is Raditz and I am your brother." That seemed to shock the entire group as a gasp went out, but Goku was the most shocked. "I don't have a brother," he said, looking confusedly at the man. "You fool, did you fall on your head or something? You should know all of this from your pod." But before he could continue to rant, Goku interrupted. "Grandpa Gohan did say he accidentally dropped me on my head." Everyone seemed to collectively face-bombed. "No matter, I will educate you in the ways of the Saiyans." Unexpectedly, two voices filtered through the tense looks. "Whoa, who are you?" Trunks asked, walking out of Kame House with his brother in hand. They stared at the man shocked, and Raditz almost brushed them off before he scanned their power levels. Nothing too impressive, but impressive for mere children. He would gladly make them his servants. "Dad, who is that?" "No one important." "Trunks, get your brother back inside." The way his dad had said those words made him tense up. Raditz was shocked. "You have offspring, Kakarot, some half-breeds, but it shouldn't matter now. We can rebuild the Saiyan race, you see, little ones. I am your father's big brother." "Oh really?" the two said in unison as they stared at the big guy wearing cool armor. "You're our uncle?" Raditz nodded as he smiled and saw the two cautiously approach him before Goku shouted for them to stop. It scared them a little as he never really shouted at them before. "Hey Goku, ease up," he said. "He was your brother," Krillin said, letting his guard down, and before anyone could warn him, he was smashed into Kame's house. Raditz had moved too fast for any of them to react. Goku stared on horrified as he got in a fighting stance. Raditz just scoffed, "Really, brother? You think you would be enough to stop me? Can you even protect your females?" Goku knew he was right. If this guy, whoever he was, had been strong enough to beat Piccolo, then his thoughts stopped as he finally set his sights on what had struck Krillin. A tale similar to the one he had all those years ago. The collective gasp from around the ground were enough to tell him they all saw it. "Is he really your brother?" Chi-Chi asked, shocked, but he wasn't focusing on that. He needed answers. How do you have that tail?" Raditz looked at his tail without much interest, then back at Kakarot. "All Saiyans have it, you fool. Matter of fact, where is yours?" he asked with a sneer that sent chills down their spines. "It's no matter, I will make a Saiyan out of your spawn. You will have to prove yourself like I would let you touch them," Goku shouted as he charged at Raditz, who was approaching the terrified toddlers that held each other scared. Raditz moved with frightening ease, landing a blow into Goku's gut that felt as if all his organs had been sent halfway across the planet. He wasn't expecting someone so big to move too fast. His knees buckled as he tried to regain any sense of breath and movement, and he could only watch as Raditz picked up the two toddlers before beginning to float. "A trial by fire is what you need. You have 24 hours to kill 100 of these humans, or else I am taking them with me." Goku could only look on helplessly, hearing Gohan and Trunks' cries as he tried to get up, only to fall to his knees before Raditz busted off.